As we enter the final months of 2024, the digital world is witnessing an unprecedented surge in sophisticated cyber attacks. This month alone, we've uncovered vulnerabilities that could let attackers steal your crypto wallet, take control of your browser, and even exploit the CPU in your computer. Stay tuned, because what you're about to learn could be the difference between staying secure and becoming the next victim. Security researchers have uncovered a high-severity flaw, tracked as CVE 2024-50550, in the Lightspeed Cache plugin that could allow any unauthorized visitor to gain administrator-level access to your WordPress site. Think about that for a moment. 6 million websites potentially exposed to complete takeover. What makes this particularly concerning is how easy it is to exploit. The vulnerability lies in something called the role simulation function, and it's similar to another flaw that was found back in August. The scariest part? Hackers don't need any special credentials or sophisticated tools. They just need to know how to exploit a weak security hash that can be easily brute forced. But it gets worse. To successfully exploit this vulnerability, hackers only need certain plugin settings to be configured in a specific way. If your site has the crawler feature enabled and certain duration settings set between 2500 and 4000, you could be at risk. The good news is that Lightspeed has released a patch in version 6.5.2 that fixes this issue by completely removing the vulnerable role simulation process. Moving on to a story that affects millions of Opera browser users. Researchers have discovered a security flaw dubbed cross-sparking that could allow malicious browser extensions to gain unauthorized access to private APIs. To demonstrate just how serious this is, security researchers managed to publish a seemingly harmless extension to the Chrome Web Store that could exploit this flaw when installed on Opera. This cross-browser store attack highlights a growing trend of threat actors finding creative ways to bypass security measures. This vulnerability could have given attackers access to your camera, microphone, and location data, all without your consent. Opera has since patched this issue as of September 24, 2024, but it is a stark reminder of how even trusted browsers can harbor serious security risks. Now, let's talk about a threat that's specifically targeting cryptocurrency enthusiasts. Researchers have uncovered a malicious Python package called Crypto AI Tools that's masquerading as a cryptocurrency trading tool. This package was downloaded over 1,300 times before being taken down from PyPI, and it's designed with one purpose: to steal your crypto assets. What makes this malware particularly devious is its ability to activate automatically upon installation, targeting both Windows and Mac OS systems. The attackers even created a fake graphical user interface to distract victims, while the malware silently does its dirty work in the background. But here's where it gets really interesting. The malware authors went the extra mile to make their scam look legitimate. They created a fake website called coinsw.app that advertises a cryptocurrency trading bot service. This isn't just some hastily thrown-together scam. It's a carefully crafted deception designed to fool even careful developers who might check the source of their downloads. Now, let's shift gears to something that affects virtually every modern computer user. Remember Spectre? That notorious CPU vulnerability that made headlines back in 2018? Well, it's back, and it's still haunting the latest AMD and Intel processors. Researchers at ETH Zurich have discovered that current-generation processors remain vulnerable to speculative execution attacks. This new attack targets something called the Indirect Branch Predictor Barrier, or IBPB, which was supposed to be a crucial defense against these types of attacks. What's particularly alarming is that this is being described as the first practical, end-to-end, cross-process Spectre leak. In simple terms, this means attackers could potentially steal sensitive data from your computer, even with all the security patches that have been released over the years. Moving on to a story that shows how even the biggest companies can face consequences for mishandling cybersecurity incidents. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has just charged 4 major companies, Avaya, Checkpoint, Mimecast, and Unisys, for making misleading statements about their involvement in the infamous SolarWinds hack of 2020. The penalties are substantial. Avaya will pay $1 million, Checkpoint $995,000, Mimecast $990,000, and Unisys a whopping $4 million. The SEC's message is clear. Companies can't downplay or hide the extent of cyber attacks from their shareholders and the public. But wait, because our next story shows that state-sponsored cyber attacks are becoming more sophisticated than ever. The notorious North Korean hacking group known as Lazarus has been caught exploiting a zero-day vulnerability in Google Chrome to take control of infected devices. Here's how they did it. They created a fake game website called dtankzone.com, targeting individuals in the cryptocurrency sector. But this wasn't just any gaming site. Under the surface lurked a hidden script that could exploit a previously unknown vulnerability in Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. This attack was particularly sophisticated because it actually contained code for 2 different vulnerabilities. One to give attackers read and write access to the entire Chrome process, and another to bypass the V8 sandbox entirely. Google has since patched these vulnerabilities, but it shows just how far state-sponsored hackers will go to target specific individuals. Speaking of vulnerabilities, let's talk about a security flaw that could have exposed your Windows credentials. Researchers discovered a vulnerability in Styra's open policy agent that could leak something called NTLM hashes, essentially the encrypted version of your Windows password. While this might sound technical, the implications are serious. An attacker could use these leaked credentials to either relay the authentication to access other systems or attempt to crack the password offline. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2024-8260, affected both the command line interface and software development kit for Windows. But perhaps the most concerning trend we're seeing is the rise of sophisticated phishing campaigns. Security researchers have uncovered a new malware campaign called ClickFix that uses fake Google Meet web pages to deliver information-stealing malware to Windows and Mac OS users. These fake pages trick users into copying and executing malicious code, claiming it's necessary to fix a browser display issue. Now, let's discuss Apple's security issues. Microsoft researchers have uncovered a vulnerability in Mac OS that could let attackers bypass your privacy preferences and access sensitive data. The flaw, dubbed HM-Surf, affects Apple's transparency, consent, and control framework, the very system designed to protect your privacy. This vulnerability is particularly concerning because it could give attackers access to your browsing history, camera, microphone, and location data without your permission. While Apple has patched this in macOS Sequoia 15, it serves as a reminder that even Apple's robust security measures aren't infallible. But that's not all for Apple users. Mozilla just revealed a critical security flaw in Firefox and Firefox ESR that's actively being exploited in the wild. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2024-9680, could allow attackers to execute malicious code on your computer just by visiting a compromised website. This type of vulnerability is particularly dangerous because it can be used in what we call watering hole attacks, where attackers compromise legitimate websites that their targets are likely to visit. Mozilla has already released patches in Firefox 131.0.2 and Firefox ESR versions 128.3.1, 1, and 115.106.1, so if you haven't updated your browser yet, you should do it right now. Let's move on to a threat that's targeting gamers. Researchers have discovered a new Lua-based malware that's spreading through fake game cheats. This malware is particularly prevalent across North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia, targeting the student gamer community. The attackers are exploiting a quirk in GitHub to host their malicious payloads, making them appear more legitimate. Once installed, the malware can establish persistence on your system and deliver additional malicious payloads. It's a stark reminder that the promise of free cheats often comes with a hidden cost. Speaking of hidden costs, Qualcomm has just released security updates to address nearly 24 flaws in their components, including one that's already being exploited in the wild. The vulnerability, CVE 2024-43047, affects the digital signal processor service and could lead to memory corruption. Even Google's Threat Analysis Group has confirmed this vulnerability is being used in targeted attacks. While we don't know the full scope of these attacks, there's speculation that they might be part of spyware campaigns targeting civil society members. Now, let's talk about a new threat to the Internet of Things. Researchers have discovered a new botnet malware called Gorilla that's based on the infamous Mirai botnet code. In just over 3 weeks between September 4th and September 27th, this botnet issued more than 300,000 attack commands. The botnet has targeted more than 100 countries, focusing on universities, government websites, telecommunications companies, banks, and gaming sectors. China, the US, Canada, and Germany have been the most heavily targeted. What makes Gorilla particularly dangerous is its ability to support multiple CPU architectures and connect to multiple command and control servers. Finally, let's discuss a threat that's targeting Docker containers. Security researchers have uncovered a new cryptojacking campaign that's exploiting Docker engine APIs to hijack instances for cryptocurrency mining. But this isn't just another crypto mining operation. The attackers are using Docker Swarm's orchestration features for command and control purposes. The attack is sophisticated, using internet scanning tools to identify vulnerable Docker API endpoints. Once they find a target, they deploy a cryptocurrency miner and additional payloads that can spread to other systems running Docker, Kubernetes, or SSH. It's like a digital parasite that not only infects one system but tries to spread throughout your entire network. What do you think about these security threats? Are you taking steps to protect yourself? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.